everybody. Welcome to a new season and a new episode of Entrepaidneur Sessions, the podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer, and here's my co-host, Mario. And we have some amazing, exciting guests that we're going to be talking to today. And since this is the first podcast of the year, we wanted to focus on an important topic that we think is relevant to all business owners, and it's how to market your business in 2021. This year is obviously a very unique year, just like last year. So I'm very excited about the guests that we have on the show today. I'm going to introduce our first guest, which is Athena. Is a serial entrepreneur who has been featured on Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, and Future Shark. And she was fueled by an unfulfilled career. She started her first online business with only $200, and she ended up making more than $25,000 in 6 months. So she has founded many other companies since then and has founded a lot of fun side hustles that she uses to invest in her travels. So she's going to be giving us some great information tonight. And then next we have Corey Reese. Corey started as a successful model back in 2003 with features in magazines, billboards in Times Square, commercials, and more. And then Corey transitioned from being in front of the camera, in front of the camera in 2006 with a newfound passion, which is photography. Corey left his full-time career, which was as an IT professional in 2008 to pursue photography full-time. And that's when his road to entrepreneurship began. So Corey is now an avid educator. He's with over 55,000 students online. He teaches them photography. He's a marketing expert. He helps companies create 6 to 7 figure businesses online. And he's a visual guru who pays acute attention to detail. And he's a rare talent, and he's a highly sought after by his celebrity clientele. So welcome to Corey. And last but certainly not least, we have Edom Jimbo. Edom is an artist, and founder of Tombow. It's a storytelling shoe brand that leverages fashion, music, and art as an angle to stand out with the hope of inspiring self-belief, pride, and ownership. The collection is particularly unique as each shoe model includes a matching song to drive home the mission of the brand and help consumers feel more attached to their kicks and culture. So welcome to all of our guests. I'm going to let Mario go ahead and kick it off with the first question for tonight. So Mario.
First of all, thank you guys for being on the show today. Thank you for taking the time. I know everyone's busy, but I feel like there's a lot of knowledge that a lot of people could acquire from each and every person on this podcast. So start up everything. We've been in a pandemic for about a year now. Some of the pivots, we want to kind of discuss, what are some pivots that you've taken in order to, make your business kind of adapt to the so-called norm. And so Athena, ladies first, what are some things that you've done to kind of transition your company and business to adapt to, what we consider to be the norm?
Yeah, that's a great question. And obviously we're all now very used to Zoom and virtual meetings. So everyone's had to pivot in that sense. But it's especially challenging in my perspective with a team. And the biggest pivot we've had to make is making it still fun for our team and having a really awesome company culture over the past year. Obviously servicing clients virtually is a little different, but for us, it's really been with the team. We have a pretty small team, but we have 4 team members. And we just really want to make sure that, people aren't getting depressed at home working. Like, we don't want them to feel lonely. We still do weekly events and we have like games. We also track our fitness together. We've come up with all sorts of fun ways to stay engaged. And even though, and especially since we're across the country, so we're on the West Coast and the East Coast, so we can't really hang out. And we found some really awesome ways to do that online. So that's been like the biggest thing we've had to pivot. And then obviously marketing's a little different. A lot of people have changed their marketing strategy. And for us, we're big on social media, but we've actually kind of lost the passion for Instagram. And like most people, we've transitioned to TikTok. And we haven't gotten into Clubhouse, but we've gotten onto TikTok, and we're also really prioritizing IG Reels. So that's been a huge shift for us, along with LinkedIn marketing we've gotten into. So we've had to really experiment with different marketing strategies over the past year and find ways to keep the team happy, healthy, and keep it still feeling like a family, even though we can't meet up like we used to. So that's really what we've worked on over the past year.
I have a question before we roll into the next person's answer. You mentioned that you guys have kind of transitioned to TikTok from Instagram, and I want to understand more about that shift, like why you think you guys are more active on that platform right now.
Yeah, so like many of you might have noticed, is that Instagram's really pushing shopping. That like they really want people to shop, and it's very aggressive in my perspective. And the engagement is really, really hard to have as a creator, and they're really making it very hard for new businesses, especially, to start an Instagram and then just organically grow their account. It's honestly pretty impossible unless you're making viral content with Instagram Reels. So thankfully they did add the Reels feature, because I do feel like that algorithm is supporting small content creators to go viral. But as far as feed posts, I mean, it's just horrific. Like the engagement they'll give you, and you guys have seen it, they hide your content. So keeping the story post consistent, getting Instagram Reels are great. But TikTok, anyone could be a TikTok star. I love it. People of all ages, of all specialties, anyone can go viral on TikTok, and I absolutely love that. And I really love that they're moderating the platform to make sure the content is kind of family friendly. So I think the platform's great for just about anyone.
Awesome, thanks.
That was a great question, Jennifer, because that was actually going to be the same question I was about to have. So,
oh, sorry, I just hijacked it.
Took the words out of my mouth. So, Edom, how you're in your business, and kind of describe what your business. So, how did you kind of adapt to the north?
All right. Speaking about pivots, it's funny because 2 weeks, I'd say right about December, the last week of December 2019, I had actually gone to the embassy to try to get a visa to go to Asia, and they wouldn't give me one because of some issues of some paperwork that was missing. And then 3 weeks later, a couple weeks later, COVID hit. Now that's a pivot, because I'd already bought my ticket, I'd booked my hotel and everything to go to Asia, and then to go visit the factory that's going to manufacture my shoes. And then COVID happened. Now I had to be like, okay, do I go ahead and proceed with this? But what I really reminded myself, since I'm in marketing and I've been doing graphics, web for a long time, a lot of the things I was trying to communicate to my prospective clients when I was freelancing and even just at work is go web, use web, go digital. I had to take that to the next level and embrace going virtual. So I had to continue working with the factory virtually, getting on Zoom calls just like this, and they show me what they're actually doing, and I directed from there. When you talk about the music angle, I had to get on calls and Zoom calls with dance groups in Ghana, in Kenya, in New Jersey, in Nigeria, so that they can make the song that I actually want, get the production right. I want to see the choreography. So really, I had to fully embrace going virtual like I never had before. And I just think it was something that, it was kind of easier for me because I was already familiar with how tools work in the cloud. So it was easier for me to embrace that and take with it and just run with it and not sit back and say, okay, well, the world shut down, these things can be done. And as much as I'm in a space where I'm working with a physical product. So let's be real, people are not going around anymore, right? People are not going outside. So shoe sales went down 70%. Okay. Every shoe business was hit. So it's not just me. So that was kind of made me feel like, you know what, it's not that bad, but let me use this time to actually set up the infrastructure and get the operations, fine tune all the operations. So when things come around, then I'm really ready to scale. because I'd put feelers out to see what people think about the product I have to offer, and they loved it. So I took this opportunity to embrace what's happening and prepare myself when things come around.
Yeah, that's awesome. And kind of, it sounds like you probably saved a lot of money too in the process of all.
Yes, I sure did.
Just traveling and everything, you kind of, put that money back into your business.
Exactly, yes. And for the past year, I've been able to do that. Now that I'm seeing, this is even going to last a little longer. So I've become even more patient, right? Because I've learned from one of the things my mentor taught me about this business, going into business, especially long term, right? Don't even think about what's going to happen between the first 5 years. Just get your product right, perfect that. Think long term and have eternal patience. So that's what I've had to remind myself. Just be patient, nothing. Because I look at my competitors, right? Nike's been doing this for 40 years. Like, who the hell am I to think it's going to turn around like that? So I just need to be patient.
Awesome, man. And then Corey, man, kind of tell us a little bit about your business and how you adapted to the social norm.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess one of the good things for me is really during this time, like prior to this, like a lot of the infrastructure that I operate with is online. So for me, it was really about pouring on the gas in terms, and what I mean is that, obviously the physical service of photography, I did, when they were doing the shutdowns and things of that nature, obviously I didn't go to my studio. So I actually didn't shoot for an entire month, and I still was okay because I actually do digital marketing for companies. And one of the companies that I partnered with, that we're working with, was in the fitness industry. So the fitness industry has grew so much. When I'm talking about, she went from January 2019 to October without me, $9,000. And at December 2019, once I started running the ads, to like even June of 2020, we had already did $1 million online of sales. You know what I mean? And that was all through just kind of going back, revamping her actual marketing, and just kind of really making sure that her digital platform was in place, because she is online completely. She doesn't have a physical store. So that actually worked out perfectly. And then as for me, a lot of the people that find my business is through some of the organic searches and optimization that I've done on my website. So once they lifted being able to shut down the non-essential business, and other businesses were able to open, like really and truly, like people were right back reaching out, asking about services. I was shooting. I actually opened a new studio during that time. So it was almost just kind of, for me, more of just kind of keeping safe in terms of just having those protocols, because obviously with some of the bigger shoots that I was able to complete, these companies were asking for COVID policies and that type of thing. So in terms of shifting, I had to just make sure that I had cleaning stations set up in place, and things of that nature. But really from an online perspective, it's just really been awesome, just because I've already been there. So I can understand you guys in turn, if you didn't have the infrastructure already in place, now having to kind of do it, because when I was doing it, it was people online, but now that people are being forced, it kind of really crowds the market, if you will. So now you're having to really push out against everybody else that now has the idea to have to be online, because that's essential. So I think for me, already being online, it kind of really helped to be able to kind of expand what I was doing in terms of the offerings and that type of thing.
So you already had kind of like your foot already in the door. So you kind of had an advantage right at the beginning.
Correct. Yeah. Because I actually, and just to backtrack, like, I put some training for photography training on Udemy in 2015, and like I've gotten a check every single month since 2015 from putting training on that platform one time. So you know what I mean? So just different ways, like as an entrepreneur, I think we all kind of get creative in terms of how we are able to grow our actual net worth and our actual income, and just having our hands, I actually own real estate, you know what I mean? So it's just really having different avenues and different ways to create wealth for our business.
Shout out to that evergreen content, though. You put it out there
Right.
one time and still getting a check off of it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to update it because I want to do some different things, but I have updated, I should say. But I know the market is huge, because like this is actually grown organically to over 50,000+ students at this point.
Oh, nice. Okay. Cool. So Athena, I'm going to throw it back to you real quick. What are some creative strategies you are utilizing to market your business right now?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say this is necessarily extremely creative and it hasn't been done before, but having a digital community is extremely important if you haven't set one up already. And I actually have not pre-pandemic. And so my company, we made free WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, and Discord groups, and entirely free networking groups. You know, we didn't even post ever. We never post ever about our company. Obviously, our company branding is there, so people know where to find us. But having those communities set up has helped our business tremendously. And it's easy to set up, it's free, and it's free for others to join. And we've been marketing to join those groups on our LinkedIn. And that has been the biggest strategy that has helped us. And I can't recommend it enough. If you don't have one set up, go ahead and just make a free group on Facebook, WhatsApp, or Discord, any platform you want, even an email marketing list. You can kind of have a community there. So that would be the thing I suggest to everyone. And then also, obviously now more than ever, you need to have a good digital footprint. So you have to develop, you know, a website, social media, get reviews online. And before the pandemic, you know, I had those things set up, but I really wasn't prioritizing them because I had face-to-face networking opportunities. Yeah. And there's just so many opportunities to meet people in person. So I'm like, you know, I don't need to stress it. But last year, we really had to dial in and make the perfect website, start collecting reviews, start posting more on social media. And if you aren't already doing those things, you definitely need to do it this year, because who knows when the pandemic is ending and when life goes back to normal. So yeah, those are like the two things that I've done over the past year that have really helped.
That's awesome. Can you give everybody a little bit more background on your business? I want them to kind of understand what you do.
Yeah, so I do a lot of things. So to keep it simple, I'm referring to procurement PPE for the groups and the digital footprint that we've really developed. That's a PPE database where buyers and sellers can make listings and trade PPE. And another company of mine that I own is a Tesla rental car company in Vegas here. And I also have a marketing agency. So I'm partnered with my amazing partner, Lisa Wynn, and we run those companies together. And we have a really awesome team that runs everything. We do everything together. So that's a little background on my companies.
I love it. Thank you. And great suggestions. Groups are super important. Ido?
Okay. I would say in terms of strategy, I like to begin with the core of it being the story, right? What story do you have to tell? Then the story, whatever story you have to tell, then the strategy follows that. So in my case, the story that I have to tell is a story that is pretty much a global story, right? It's about a young African girl who wants to become a professional dancer, right? In today's age, but she comes from a village and has old school parents who are not about that life, right? So a lot of people have been through situations where they want to pursue something, but either the people around them or their family don't want them to do that. So throughout the trials and tribulations as a family and a unit, she ends up convincing her parents to buy into her dream. And as she buys into her dream, they end up forming a dance group. And as a dance group, they get to tour the world and become a really successful dance group. So it's more like a feel-good story. And what I've done is taken that story and collaborated with people. So what I've been doing over the past 8 years by working in the African entertainment industry is building relationships. So it's not just me trying to market this myself. I'm collaborating with other people to help tell that story. This right here is a collaboration. So I take every opportunity that I can to help communicate that story. And you never know who might see it and like it, and they'll pass on that message. So what I would say is collaborating with people, taking every opportunity you have, and use other people to tell that story for you, because those relationships that I've built over the past 10 years, a lot of them have become huge influencers with millions of followers. So when I'm ready, I've already pre-told them that story that I have, and they're willing to share it. I mean, that's like a huge opportunity that I don't even have to pay for, but it's because of the work I had done 8, 10 years ago. And Jennifer, we go way back working in this industry. So I would say that has been my strategy, but it's not really something that started this year. It's something I've been building towards, and I will continue to fine tune it and hopefully get it to 40 years from now. We'll sit back. I don't know if Zoom is going to exist 40 years from now, but whatever
hologram.
holograms, yeah, whatever platform will exist at the time, we're going to use, and this will look like crap quality, but guess what? It worked.
I love it. So I already found a theme between what you and Athena have said, because there's a theme of relationship building and community.
Oh my gosh.
So the fact that you guys both kind of communicate that in different ways, but it still shows that importance of that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, people underestimate it, big time.
Yeah, definitely. Corey, what are some creative strategies you're using to market your business right now?
Yes, and actually just to kind of piggyback on what both of them says, I think for me, mainly I've been really focusing on other people's business, because my business actually runs itself. But what I've kind of really dug into her mind is to really tell her unique story of why she started her company and because at the end of the day, it's always going to be other people in the field of what you do, but nobody else has your exact story. So we've been able to really utilize that story and actually understand what problem are we solving for the people? What makes your product different from the next person? Even though, like I said, it's like, different people sell shoes, but what is the unique thing about, and if the story is the unique thing about how that brand came together, that's what people connect with. So through that, we've been able to build her social media account. And then obviously just kind of really connecting with the people. Like what I also told her as well is like really the 3 type of posts that I have her posting, which is a buy post, a money post, which is selling the product. Also something educational, whether that's how to use the product, and then something funny like the memes and that type of thing. So we have been able to organically grow her following through being able to connect with the people in that way, as well as during this time, I want to make sure everybody is building their website and making sure their website property looks super good. And that when people go to it, they see that it's legit. They see that this is a quality, that you took time to put this together, and people are more comfortable because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So having a property that looks good and you're able to connect with the people and show them how you can help them, that makes a world of difference, because I can tell you this, people do not care about you unless they know how you can help them. And we kind of continue to see that forever and forever. And then also with the email list building, that's been substantial as well. Like during that time, just kind of putting a little coupon code up there where people can subscribe and get a discount on the product right away. And we've been able to recover a big amount of income through the email list, because not everybody that actually adds themselves to the list or visits the website, they don't buy the first time. So being able to have something like Klaviyo, where you're able to create lists based off of what actions people have taken on the site. And then you can send customized emails, and even like from the abandoned cart emails, to be able to recover some of those purchases and be able to add and increase your income through that way.
I'm going to segue for a second, not to go off subject too far, but Klaviyo, I'm starting to hear people talk about it in Facebook groups and different things like that. Really, really quickly, without going too far off, what is the big difference regarding like using Klaviyo versus a MailChimp, or, some of these other traditional ones, a Constant Contact, and there's another one I like, but I can't think of right now, but. You said what?
MailerLite.
Oh yeah, MailerLite. That's the one I was thinking about.
Gotcha. I do use GetResponse on my personal platform. And what I will say that the big difference that I see between GetResponse and Klaviyo in particular, because those are the two that I'm most familiar with. Mm-hmm. I know for sure with Klaviyo, some kind of way it's connected to Shopify. So you are able to see what subscribers has done what automatically, where some of the other ones you have to kind of build out and tag people that they've taken certain action. With Klaviyo, it actually goes and tags people. So for example, I can put together, let's just say somebody has subscribed and they've bought one product, like I know exactly what product they've actually purchased. Now I can kind of put together a sequence to take them down a process to educate them on another product that can help them amplify the results that they're trying to get, but that product actually does something different. So I'm able to really segment the list by what people are doing. If they haven't bought, I know they haven't bought. Now I can kind of maybe send them some incentive to take that step. And once they've taken that step, now I can kind of create campaigns to help further that process of taking them down that lane, if that makes sense.
Nice.
So basically, you create the tools that kind of builds that virtual relationship.
Yep, because that's important. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like you building that relationship, and it's not just buy. You're able to educate them on what they're looking, and obviously understand it. What I always tell people do not buy if they don't think they have a problem. But if you can explain their problem better than them, they think you automatically have a solution, and that's kind of really how we approach it.
Exactly. Every business is there to solve a problem. So.
Yeah.
I like it. So it sounds like Clavio is really focused a lot on the customer journey. It's really like tracking their movement. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, Mario, I'll throw it back to you.
Don't worry. This next question, you guys might have answered it to a point, but this is not even just related to the whole COVID. This is just as a business in general. So we run into all kinds of different challenges. A lot of misconceptions people have as far as being a business owner or entrepreneur is that, hey, now we're banking, we make up our own time, we're living large and all that stuff. But people don't realize that there's a process behind that. And yeah, you might be thinking we're living large, but our bank account says something completely different a lot of times as a business owner. So start with you, Jimbo or Edom. What are some challenges that you've run into as a business owner?
Well, the first time I had to empty my life savings. Let's start there. Because you know it's funny how you always hear about successful owners, entrepreneurs who tell you about, oh, when I really started, I used all my life savings in my 401k. Until you have to do it, then it gets real. But I will tell you, I would say the biggest one was actually finding someone who, because of what I'm actually creating, right? I'm relying on someone else to actually create it, right? I come up with a concept, I build it out, but it's in someone else's hand. That's like totally different from what I do. Because if I want to do a painting, I just pick up a canvas, paintbrush, and do it. But now I'm actually relying on somebody else to create that art piece for me, because shoemaking is an art form. So that was the hardest part, because I had to I've been through about 8 factories now to actually get someone to do it right. Yeah. I've been to conferences, I've called tons of factories, and especially when you're starting out, they don't want to work with you because number one, you're a startup, right? You don't have the big money, and factories are in the business of keeping you away. They don't want to take your phone call. They want to make the product, send it your way, and say bye-bye. Unless you're coming back to make another bigger order, they don't want to talk to you, right? And especially someone that's starting out like myself, with coming up with their own shoe, is a new customer. You guys know, a new customer costs so much money that they don't want to spend that time training you and telling you what it needs to be, because you don't know everything, right? Yeah, and then some of them just hang up on you. They don't return your calls. Some even make prototypes, right? And then they don't send it to you.
Yeah. Should require that.
Yeah, but you got to be willing to go through that to actually stake it out long enough to get to your endpoints, because every business goes through whatever struggles they have. So running into those, to me, those are just potholes. They just keep moving. And here we are today.
And Athena, what's some challenges that you've kind of encountered as a business owner?
Yeah, so the big one for me is being a female entrepreneur. I've had difficulty in working with men, and I don't mean to throw men under the bus here. I'll talk about working with women too. But men specifically, when you're starting a career as an entrepreneur, you're going to deal with creepy men and sexist men. And the biggest thing for me is that I've struggled with creepy men who literally want to work with our company because they want to be around my partner and I, which we're flattered by, but it can get pretty out of control. We've had some pretty weird situations, very uncomfortable ones, very disrespectful ones. And what I've learned from that is that you can immediately tell, honestly, when it's going to be that type of client or man to work with. And in the beginning, we worked with them because they're a client, right? And you need the money, and the opportunity would be great for your portfolio, and of course the money would be great too. But I've learned that it is always best to just turn away the opportunity, because it will really affect you emotionally and mentally throughout the process of working with that person, because it's just draining. I mean, they're really, their intention to work with you isn't for your services and your brain. It's to make you feel uncomfortable and expect just really bizarre things out of you. So to any women listening right now, I really suggest that if you are in this situation where you have a potential client or project with a guy who makes you feel uncomfortable, please say no, no matter how bad you need the money. I really don't think you should do it. And then of course there's men who are just simply sexist, where they don't even give you the opportunity to work with you. So that's been a challenge, but it's not a problem because there are so many awesome men to work with out there. You will filter them out and you will start attracting really awesome men to work with once you cut out the creepers. So I've noticed when I've worked with the creepers, more just keep coming for some reason. And it's like, they're referring their creepy people too. So just work with awesome men and keep it consistent there.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then working with women has been a challenge as well, because unfortunately it can be very competitive. And sometimes they're very indecisive. Sometimes working with men is great because they're like, okay, I know I want this and I like this. Women, they give you like a million ideas and options and different ways to go, and you're like, girl, just decide. I'm like, come on, let's wrap this up. Right. So that's like another challenge, but working with women is a lot of fun still. They're not competitive and it's super indecisive. And the other biggest challenge that everyone can probably relate to as an entrepreneur is having the wrong support system around you, whether that's friends, family, a relationship. And I really struggle with this for the first few years of being an entrepreneur. I really gave those people my time, and I really cared that they were affected by me being an entrepreneur. Like, you know, they don't really understand why you're putting in so many hours into something that hasn't made money yet. And they don't understand just why you're so involved in this thing. And it's just really hard when you're give those people so much of your time, and it can really slow you down in your goals as an entrepreneur. So I really suggest that you either cut those people out entirely like I've done, or if it's family, you know, try to set some boundaries and communicate to them that you would really like their support. And if they just simply won't, you honestly need to find a way to limit, you know, talking to them and spending as much time with them, because it will really hold you back from achieving your goals.
That reminds me, that's a really good point. Mario, what was that thing? Mario was on, you saw something on Clubhouse or something when Elon Musk was on there, and somebody said, how do you motivate yourself? If what's some motivation you can give to somebody if they want to be an entrepreneur? And Elon Musk said, if you need motivation, you don't need to be an entrepreneur.
True.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's kind of the reason why we have these sessions, because even as a business owner, though, you're kind of on your own planet. You know, you're on your own island, because you're trying to do something that you feel like no one's ever done. You know, and even like as a web developer, as a videographer, yeah, you know, maybe there's a million videographers out there, but you're unique because you have a certain set of skills that no one else might have, or you might have a certain set of, you know, like artistic vision that no one else has. So it's kind of hard to really ask for advice, especially as a business owner. So, yeah. And then Corey, man, you know, some challenges.
Absolutely. So I would say the biggest thing for me, and my advice to anybody that's looking to be an entrepreneur, is that just to kind of my backstory in terms of having, my degree is in computer information systems. So me working a full-time job, when I bought my camera and started shooting, the bug bit me, and I'm like, man, people, you know, I was starting to kind of get some work and I was getting paid. But what I didn't realize is that, you know, obviously my full-time job was paying most of the bills, right? So when I left, even though I had money saved, like it just so happened they had offered a voluntary leave, and this was 2008, like right in the middle of the recession. They were asking, like I work for the airline, Mario, you know, I flew to Dallas to work on a website. But anyway, so when I left, and what I quickly had to realize that it wasn't just about me having great work and people liking me. What I learned is that if you don't know how to market yourself, you will lose, because that's what happened to me. 8 months later, my account hit negative for the first time in my life. And I'm thinking like, what in the world just happened, right? So and there I had to really go on a quest to really figure out how can I market myself? How can I put myself in position to be able to charge what I want to charge? How can I get in front of the people that are looking for the service that I have to offer? And that's really all marketing is, guys, is that how can you put your service that people are looking for, that the service that you specialize in front of people that's looking for your service. And as long as you're doing that, you will always win. When you're selling, when you're trying to push something on somebody that they don't need, right? So if you're able to now figure out, okay, what is the offer or service that I actually have to put on the table? How can I find the people that need that service now? And how can I convert the people with the money to pay for it into customers, right? And if you can put a system around that, you can win regardless of what it is. So that was my biggest challenge, just kind of really having to find out the hard way that you did definitely have to have a plan in place of how to market your business, as well as how to make sure you understand the problem that you're solving for your customers and making sure that they're clear on how you solve that problem for them. Because if that's the case, you never will go broke.
Excellent. Yeah, because I know when I first started in the business, I saw that little minus sign. I was like, what does that mean? Do they still owe me money or work out? Yeah,
right.
Right. So are any of you guys utilizing Clubhouse to market your business? I know, like, I was getting invites and people were like, join Clubhouse. And I'm an Android user, so I was extra salty about it because I had to go get an iPad just to join.
Right.
Yeah. They discriminate on us Droid users. But I've joined and it's busy. I'm still just kind of like watching and listening, trying to see. I know how we could probably fit in, but I was like, between TikTok and Instagram and Clubhouse, and these Clubhouse people stay in these rooms for like 6 or 7 hours just talking. Yeah. I'm like, how are you a multi-millionaire, 6-figure, whatever, and you're on Clubhouse like 7 hours? I don't know how they do it, but anyway, I just wanted to ask real quick: are any of you guys use? I know Athena, you said you're not on it yet. Mario, I know you've been on it a little bit. Edom, Corey.
Yeah, I've been on it. I see how it can work, right? But I think right now I would probably join it once I'm comfortable knowing the operations of my business is good, right? Because of the time investment that it would take, because it's time consuming, right? For you to get the best out of it, you need to spend time on there. And what I've seen is there's really no search function for you to find exactly what you want, right? It's just basically what's recommended, and you're like, okay, you look at some rooms and okay, this is cool. If they had built it in a way where I could search for what I want, maybe they've changed it because I haven't logged in a month or so, then I'd be more likely to spend some more time on there. Yeah, but I could see how it can be effective for, if you find the right group, right business, right niche, I could see it. Yeah.
I think it's definitely a cool concept. It's like you said, though, it's very time consuming, especially because you're in a room with 900 people. Yeah. I think the value is in becoming an authority on the platform. And how many times you got to raise your hand to get on the stage
exactly.
to become authority and make sure you say something that makes sense. So, but we'll keep watching. I'm interested in that. But okay.
Didn't Twitter introduce something similar to that?
I don't know. The last thing I heard about Twitter was the fleet.
No, they did fleet already, but I saw that they did introduce something, voice related. Yeah.
Oh,
just
wow.
time before Zuckerberg does it too.
I know, right? He's gonna make his own Clubhouse.
Copy and paste. He does not shy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Mario.
So there's a lot of risks that we take in this business, and we could either be entrepreneurs or we could just, do an 8 to 5 and call it a day. I've been in positions where I work corporate, and a lot of the guys, 9 o'clock in the morning, talk about, okay, what are we doing for lunch? I'm like, we just got here. Or they're talking about video games. So I'm like, I don't even know what video games are. I'm so busy trying to build a business. And so, coming no pun intended.
Entrepaidneur.com. Okay, go ahead.
And so as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, we kind of get away from that safety net, and we're kind of focusing on our niche. So during that process, we take a lot of risk in the company. So, Corey, starting with Corey, what are some risks that you've taken in your business?
Absolutely. I think for me, one of the biggest risks I took was investing $10,000 in mentorship because in my mind, obviously that was a lot of money for me, but I knew that if I got the information, because I was always that person that looks at all the webinars, all the information. I would take action on what I learned, but I would never pull out my wallet to buy anything, right? But what I saw happen as I took action on the free content, I was getting some movement, but I didn't have the strategy of what make that work long term. So I said, you know what, if I've gotten this far, if I've gotten this result, this movement from what I learned for free, how much more can I learn from being able to pay and take a deep dive into really the full strategy of what makes that work? And really betting on myself, that saying, hey, you know, I'm gonna put this money on the line, I'm gonna do what I need to do to make it happen. And literally within 6 months of investing that $10,000, I had created a second six-figure business in 5 months. So that's one of the biggest risks that I took, just kind of really investing myself, investing in mentorship, because obviously if you want to understand like the road ahead, just ask somebody who's already been down that road, you know what I mean? Because so you can help shorten that gap for yourself.
Beautiful. And Athena, what about you? What's some of the risks that you've taken outside of, taking creeping men as a couple of clients? What's some other risks that you've taken?
Yeah, kind of going back to what he was saying, it goes to investing money. You have to spend money to make money. Mm-hmm. And the sooner you do that and the sooner you relax and just, start making marketing investments and other investments that are essential to really take your business to the next level. That's really been the biggest risk for me, is just taking my savings or taking the earnings, and instead of keeping it for myself, just reinvesting it back into the business. And, it's risky because there's no guarantee. It's the same thing as going to a casino to gamble. I mean, you have no guarantee with the results. So obviously you really do want to make sure what you're investing in could potentially have a return. But there's countless times where I have invested in a marketing campaign, invested in an influencer, even invested in mentorship programs that got me absolutely nowhere. And I've even gotten involved in some scams. I've had that many times actually over the past 5 years. So you got to really just move forward and learn from that and try to avoid having that happen again. But I mean, if you have one scam that you purchased or, you got into something that didn't work out, you can't, let that hold you back from going on in your entrepreneur journey. It's going to happen. And true entrepreneurs know that, and they're born for it and they can handle it. And that's actually something I've seen many entrepreneurs stop and go and get a job because they've had those risks that they take and fail, and they emotionally can't handle it. Obviously, financially, they suffer too. But you really have to build that strength and become resilient from the risks that you take that fail. So hopefully that answers your question.
That's beautiful. And especially, you need to invest in yourself, like you guys were saying. It's going to take money to, take money to make money type of thing.
Takes a lot of money to make money.
Definitely.
You brought up a really good point. I'm like, we might do a podcast on how to recognize a scammer in business.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'll be on that one for you.
Okay.
I got you.
Awesome.
And Ida, man, I know there's some risks that you've taken.
Oh yeah, I'll even since I kind of mentioned the money before, I'll go further back. Just the risk of coming to the United States to pursue an art career, right? To pursue an art degree. It took a lot of convincing, to get my parents to believe in that I would actually make something out of it, right? Because in the early 2000s, art was not really a career in Kenya, in Africa, not really. It's changing now, right, with the times. But in the early 2000s, that was like a no-no, especially because I had gotten admitted to study law in South Africa, right? Like, you're going to be a lawyer, you'll make a lot of good money. What are you doing? You want to go draw and paint? Nobody's going to do anything for that, But just me believing in myself, I got on the computer, I got online, and I found a school. And I applied for an art scholarship. They asked me to send my work, and I got an art scholarship. So I just pursued. I believed in myself, and I found the school myself. And I told my dad, like, "Hey, look, I got an art scholarship." He said, "Oh, wow, cool. So I don't have to pay for everything."
Go do hard.
Yeah, no, right? So it's just me, just believing in myself, going out, finding an opportunity, and then even when I got here, I lived with my cousin who knew someone who was an artist, and he was discouraging me from doing art.
Wow.
Yes, he was like,
He's
nah,
an artist.
yeah, you're not gonna make any money, blah, blah, blah. I wish I could find him now. Be like, look, you just gotta believe in yourself. And back to what Corey said, it's about showing your work to the right people who will pay for it, right? So that's what I've always believed in doing. Fine, somebody may not buy it now, but the right person will if they see it. So it just comes down to marketing, not just sitting in the studio and painting. That's not gonna get it done.
Is that one of your pieces behind you?
Yes, that is. Oh, crazy story.
Show it to us. Or it's
Uh,
gonna fall over or something?
no. I had just finished it. Yeah. So this is a South African musician. He passed
Yeah.
away in maybe like 8 years ago. So I
Yeah.
did like a tribute painting of him, and then I
Okay.
posted it on Twitter. And then
Yeah.
someone hit me up, like, "Yo, that's such a dope painting. Like, that's my dad." I'm like, "What?" Like,
Oh,
my
wow.
I said, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna send it to you." Like, just crazy how I just posted it, and
Yeah.
he saw it. Like, his son saw it. Like, what are the odds of that happening? You know?
Wow.
It is a
So
big
that just shows you, like, just
Yeah.
do it, put it out. You never know who's gonna see it.
Yeah.
And that even comes back to like these podcasts that we do. You never know who's watching.
You never know who's watching.
We do these things that, you know, a lot of times it encourages me, but, you know, there's so many other people that it encourages that we don't even realize. It's amazing. So
Yeah, it's my neighbor who was 10 when I was 8. He's the one who inspired me to start drawing, because he had done this drawing on this bus that used to drive in front of our building, and I wanted to draw like him so bad, but it never looked as good. So I just kept doing it. The one day I was in school and someone saw it and said, "Who did that drawing?" I'm like, "I did." I said, "Damn, that's dope." I'm like, "Oh, I guess I'm good, you know." And then I started doing it more. And then in December, he found me on Facebook. And I'm like, "Dude, do you not have a career because of you?" He's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah. And Edam's being humble. You curated art for like some major buildings in Dallas, but we'll leave that.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
Mhm.
Okay.
legit.
All right. So all of you guys, as we get ready to wrap up this podcast, we got a couple more other questions. One of them is, what advice would you give to someone who is interested in entering the world of entrepreneurship? And I guess I'm going to throw it to Corey first.
Gotcha. I think it just kind of plays back to kind of what I was saying in terms of really being clear about what you're trying to create and what you're trying to do, and understanding, do your research on your market, understanding who are your customers, what type of stuff, what are they interested in, what type of, what do they do online, so that you can use that information to be able to target. That's one of the biggest parts of being able to use social media, I say the right way, because a lot of people, there's millions of people with the phones in their hands at any given time, carrying out their day-to-day activities, and that includes purchasing goods and services. So how can you put your product in front of those people that need your services? So if you have a clear plan on who those people are, you know exactly how to attract those type of people. It's almost like if you're going fishing, you know what I mean? You got to understand what type of fish you're trying to catch. What bait do you need? You know what I mean? I say bait, but you know what I'm saying? Just understanding, like, what is it that you need to put in front of your ideal customer? And if you don't do your research, you don't actually know. And now you put your message out in front of everybody. You just posted on your timeline, and your same family members are the ones liking the post. And you like, man, this social media crap don't work. Of course it doesn't, because really those platforms are really meant to connect family members or people that are in your circle. So if you want to be able to get outside of your circle, you know, learn how to, or you should hire somebody, I should say, if you don't know how to do it yourself, to be able to run those campaigns that's better than you. Obviously, it's okay to learn it, because at the end of the day, you want to understand every piece of the puzzle, even though if you're not the one that's actually running the campaigns, because if you understand each piece, people can't take advantage of you, right? So you're able to properly manage the people that are running those campaigns. But yeah, just know your brand, know your people that you're trying to reach, and be clear on what you're trying to accomplish, and stop at nothing until you make it happen.
That's good. You bring up a really good point. It's about really focusing on your targeted audiences versus just focusing on social media. Because if you don't understand, obviously, like you said, Facebook, that's friends and family. So if your grandma's liking your post, don't get mad and say social media don't work.
Exactly. That happens all the time with people. And I just look like, man, listen, got to get outside that circle, because at the end of the day, a lot of the times it's not the people around you that's gonna be the ones that support you. It's the people that you connect with outside of that will be the main ones that that you're able to build something crazy with. Awesome.
Nice. All right. Athena, what would you give? What advice would you give to someone who is interested in entering the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so the biggest thing I would have to say is really commit to your new identity as an entrepreneur. So when you first start off, it's really weird because you were previously employed by maybe a company, or like me, I was a college student. I was 18 years old. I was fresh out of high school when I started my first company. So my identity is supposed to be this, college student who has her side job while going to college, and that's it. Like, that's what I'm supposed to be. And so when I told everyone, my friends, my family, my social media accounts, hey, I have a business, I'm an entrepreneur, it was like people were rejecting it. It was so weird. They were like, well, aren't you a college student? You have no business knowledge. You're only 18. Like, what are you doing? And it's really hard because, like we've all said on this discussion, you're kind of all on your own. And so you have to really commit to being an entrepreneur and saying, no matter what I was doing before, this is who I am now. This is what I'm going to be doing. You're either with me or you're not. And it's just how it's going to be. And another thing is, throughout your first few years of entrepreneurship, I feel like a lot of us kind of pivot what we're doing as a business owner. I've done so many different businesses in such a short time, because I'm really trying to experiment with what I truly love. And I know that I love creating businesses and being an entrepreneur and employing myself, but I still feel like I have another business out there one day that I'm going to start that I would want to do for the rest of my life. And sometimes people think that they start a company and they just have to keep doing that because that's what they started. And like, you're supposed to have companies for an entire lifetime, because it was kind of like that in the past. And oftentimes you hear family businesses are passed down, and none of my businesses have been around for like longer than a few years before I sell them or exit, because I'm really constantly experimenting with the exact type of business I want to have. So I've gone from e-commerce to agency life to having a rental car company and like creating a database for PPE. It's been all over the place. And I often get judgment on that, and I just don't care. I'm like, I want to figure out which business I really love the most, and what can generate the most value for others. So it goes back to my advice: really stick to identifying as an entrepreneur, no matter what business you try and fail. Keep going until you find the thing you love, and it'll really make you happy.
I really like the fact that you don't listen to what people say, because people only speak from their own experiences. So when people are like, oh, you're 18, you're supposed to be in college. And all of these things are systems. I'm pro education. We're all educated. We all went to college. Most of us went to grad school, but that's not what really makes people successful in life. Being successful in life is really following your passion and having the tenacity and consistency to continue to work at something and build. So I really like that you keep, enforcing the fact that you kind of charted your own lane and that you don't limit yourself either. If you look at some of the most popular people right now, like even that Elon Musk Clubhouse that we talked about, it was maxed out. The room was maxed out, and they were creating different rooms just to talk about what was going on in the main room, because people couldn't get in there. And if you think about somebody like Elon Musk, he doesn't think traditionally, he's thinking about space, and he's thinking about cars that don't use gas and everything. And I'm sure a lot of people told him that was crazy and that was weird, and no, everybody's not gonna. And now, I don't know how accurate this is, but somebody told me by the year 2030 something, all cars are supposed to be electric, like they're getting all the way away from gas. So sometimes the things that people think are crazy, that's just the vision that was given to you, and that's just for you to execute. So I really like that you said that.
Thank you.
I would say it's simple, right? Because whenever you start up, you have all these ideas that are just, clouding your head, and there's all this noise. So you kind of have to let the dust settle. Be very clear, like Corey said, about what problem you're trying to solve. solve it for that small group of people, right? That will help spread the message for you, because once you solve a problem for a group of people and it works, then you can scale it up and solve that same problem for other people. Because at the end of the day, the best form of marketing is still word of mouth, right? Because people, like, if I tell you to buy something, you're more likely to do it than an ad that you saw on Facebook. Sure, that can work. That's more of the nurture side of things, but keep it simple. Be very clear about what you're solving, like Corey said. And same thing Athena said, some people just can't come with you, right? And that starts to happen, especially when a lot of your friends, family, they're spectators. They're watching what you're doing. They may not be saying nothing. They may not be commenting. They may not be supporting, but they're watching. And all of a sudden, they start hitting you up and have all these ideas when they see things are working. But you have to be able to distinguish, are they really supporting me, or now it's popular to support me, because you start to, our human instincts can typically smell those rats, And you have to be very careful about who you actually bring in and on that journey with you. So I would just say, keep it simple, keep pushing, believe in yourself, most of all. And then finally, I would say, always make sure you check yourself and make sure that you're evolving and growing and developing. Because once you achieve, sometimes you can achieve a level of success and you think you've made it. And there's still more you can achieve, but you need people to help you as well. So don't be scared to bring people that are better than you at doing some of those functions that you need to scale.
Yeah.
I'm listening to everybody, and what resonates in my head is your why, kind of like, defining what your why is, before you even kind of get into business. Because I tell a lot of people, when we first engage in creating that marketing strategy or website or whatever, mission statement, not necessarily the mission statement for your company, but what's your mission statement? Because if you're building a company, you need to define what the company is, and not have the company define who you are. So, that's kind of what's resonating as you guys are talking. So, great knowledge.
Okay, awesome. And what I got from Edom was the riches are in the niches.
Yep, they really are. Yeah. Right? Facebook started with small little groups, right?
Yeah.
Tesla, even GameStop.
Mm-hmm. I know, man. GameStop. I remember I'm not gonna go off. Anyway, GameStop. Somebody was telling me how bad GameStop was doing just 2 years ago, and then that whole stock market thing. That's crazy. So never say never, right?
Get the small groups right, then scale.
Yeah.
Cool. So go for it, Jennifer.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, how can our listeners connect with you guys? I want everybody to just give you a second to drop your handles, your website, whatever you want to drop, so people can connect. Anybody can start. I guess Edom, you want to go ahead and start?
Okay, yes. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook at My Tombos. So that's where you'll see all the shoes. You'll get to hear some of the music, and I'll be dropping more music later on this year. I got music videos lined up, dance videos lined up, tutorials, and more of the story about what I'm actually trying to do.
Awesome. And then Tombo, like on your shirt, right? Might be link by TOMBO. Got it.
TOMBO.
Okay. Athena?
Yeah, so you guys can find me on any social media platform at Athena Kavis. And Kavis is Kavis. And also my website, athenakavis.com. You can find all of the brands that I am working on there. And Instagram is definitely the best platform where we can connect.
Awesome. Corey?
Perfect. Yep. So for me, my main photography website is CoreyReesePhotography.com. It's so funny to me. It's like the new age. I got somebody will reach out and it's like, "Oh, you have an Instagram?" I'm like, "I got a whole website." But they ask for like an Instagram handle. I'm just like, man, I deliberately don't post everything on social media because I post everything on social media. There's no reason to go to my site, but I am on social media. Corey Reese Photo on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. But Corey said, go to his website first. He already put in the work, y'all. Go to the website first. Awesome. Okay, and then you can always reach us at Entrepaidneur, which is ENTREPAIDNEUR. So Entrepaidneur. We're on Instagram, entrepaidneur.com, Facebook, all platforms. So just want to take this time real quick and thank everybody for logging in tonight. This was some great information for us to kick off at least this first quarter of this year. Thank you guys for joining us, and everybody, see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. This was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.